Hey everyone,
Hello, Luca.
how's it going?
I'm okay. Are we supposed to have a community call today? It was cancelled last week, but
Sorry, I didn't hear you, Thomas.
uh, is that the correct day for the community call? Because we cancelled it last week, but it should be there today.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's correct. Also, I think some people were a bit confused by the fact that the time changed. I think either last week or a couple of weeks ago, and because of the various DST and time zone changes around. Yeah, last week we weren't around for Thanksgiving. So today, it seems like we don't have an MC for today that volunteered before. Does anyone want, maybe that never did it before, wants to try it out, or would like so? Otherwise, I can help. Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it as I can help with this. So let me get the links and can get started.
The agenda
So I
is
see that
pretty light today.
Yeah, I see that Terry is around, and we wanted to discuss something. So that's cool. So, anyways, I think we can start and welcome everyone to this week's Falco Community Call. Now I'm going to share the HackMD link where you can add your. This is not the HackMD link that I was looking for, where you can add your name and we can actually add the agenda for today and what we discussed. Please note that in this meeting, we are adhering to the CNCF Code of Conduct, so please be nice to everyone. And please also note that this meeting is being recorded, so if you do not wish to show your face, you can just switch your webcam off. So for today, we have, I believe in the agenda, Terry has something for us. We had some interesting discussion about the Docker image that we're using for Falco. And this is a problem that I believe has been around for quite a while. And various people, including myself, including Fred and Terry, and including other people in the community, have actually proposed some solutions. And so we might want to discuss that, and we might want to think about what we believe it might be a good choice for another Falco image, for example, or something that can help.
Yeah. So basically, the idea is to make a Docker image, or actually a couple of Docker images for the Falco libs themselves. Such that essentially you would have an image that would build those libraries and would contain those libraries. And then if you had essentially any sort of client apps like Falco itself, Systigs, Sysflow, any of those, they could basically inherit from that container image, build essentially the process, and then essentially copy the build process into a runtime container. And so this would simplify, essentially allow a lot of reuse of the base image, and simplify the builds of anything that wants to be able to use those Falco libs, especially because those Falco libs take a fair amount of time to build. They can usually take up to 45 minutes or so to build. So that's one of the main ideas. And then the other idea that we've been talking with Luca about is the idea of using a UBI. So using a base image based off of a Red Hat UBI, and being able to basically do the same thing. And the advantage of the UBI is that you can they release a lot of updates in terms of fixing vulnerabilities and things like that, so we can keep vulnerabilities updated. I think Luca had some good points about UBIs having some dev tools and stuff like that to be able to support multiple versions of the GCC and Clang much more easily. And so the idea would maybe to have like, we could still have the image based on Debian, and then we could have this sort of experimental image based off UBI and see how this stuff sort of works. And then if people want to be able to sort of like do Red Hat certifications and stuff like that, it's easier to do that with the UBI as the base. I don't know if I covered everything, Luca, or if you wanted to add anything in there.
I do have questions on that. So essentially for people that that never had the pleasure of working with Falco Security Libspace images, the build that we use is currently a two-step process. Essentially, there's a builder image that is used to build Falco itself, so the binaries, and this is currently CentOS 7. And there is a reason for this choice because I played with that too, and there is a reason, I think, for that. So that image builds the binaries and builds a Debian package, an RPM package, and a binary package. For Falco, the binary package is actually compiled with muzzle libc so that it's statically linked. Then there is the actual Falco image. That's the one that Terry was mentioning. So the actual Falco image is a Docker image based on, currently it's based, the default is based on Debian, which has a bunch of compilers inside. And those compilers are used in order to compile the kernel module for many types of Linux versions that you might encounter when you run Falco inside the container. And then that thing has a bunch of things installed. And that's our output. There's also an Alpine-based image. That's the one that we use in order to take muzzle, the muzzle version of our Falco binary, and that works fine with Alpine. So what we were thinking about, and Terry was actually did some work on, because for sysflow it was fine, and it was actually very useful, was to use UBI-based image for the final image, let's say. Not really the builder image, at least I don't think the proposal was including the builder image. But for the final image, UBI has the advantage, as Terry was mentioning, I think mostly about the kind of software that is used in organizations, because you have some security, let's say security guarantees from UBI, and you can, for example, get a Red Hat certification on the Falco image, which is great to make it easier for people to install Falco on something like OpenShift or environments that might require it, because there's nothing, I don't think there's anything that Falco does that isn't something that's okay for a certification. I think the software is pretty much up to standards, and it's run in production in a lot of places. Now, I've also experimented with that, and after you build, I found that it's pretty easy to then use a UBI image. Okay, so there are a couple of things that I wanted to mention. One is that a UBI has kind of a small support for out-of-the-box packages. So it's not like Enterprise Red Hat, and it's not like CentOS either. In addition, however, you can install EPEL from the Fedora repo, which extends the amount of things that you can install. I think it's hard, it's doable, but it's hard to install, to get to parity with the number and amount of compilers that we have in the standard Debian image. I believe, please Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, that in your solution, you also, for sysflow, installed one version of Clang and one version of LLVM, because those were working, let's say, the most compatible ones, the ones that you found most compatible. So in that case, I think the UBI image could lose a little bit. The other option to get all the compilers inside is to compile them from source, which I did, but it gets the image pretty bloated, much larger, and it gets, and it's, let's say, a bit of a hassle to compile all of this. And here is another question mark from me, probably, unless you have a Red Hat subscription, but I don't think we can actually use a Red Hat subscription for CNCF software. There might be a bit of an issues with the licenses and stuff that I really don't, I'm not an expert in. So Terrell, did I get something wrong out of the ideas, or did you want to add something? And then I have more questions, but I don't just want to keep talking.
Yeah, no. So the one thing about the UBI is that we would be able to, we could use CentOS packages. We've done that in the past in Sysflow. We would definitely, like I said, definitely the UBI version would have to be, sort of experimental to begin with, to address some of those issues with the compilers and things like that, to see, how we get over some of those roadblocks for sure. I just know that we've had, I think, at least since I've been following the Falco, there's been about 3 or 4 different people, I think, that have asked about it. So if it, like I say, it might be an interesting path to go down, from that front. But yeah.
So there is also I had another question, because and if you could share let's say the code and the examples that you have on this, it would be great, so that other people can know what we are talking about, at least in my opinion. So so we can see an example of how this could turn out. Sure. I have another question that is about the fact that the image that you were mentioning actually has an additional step that is let's say, a library base image. So that's not really, is that part of the builder image, or is that part of the final image? Because the final image itself, at the end, it's the lightest thing we want. And then there is a builder image, which is currently based on CentOS 7. Is that a modification to that step as well, in order to make it easier to build the libs, or did I get it wrong? Because I might have also gotten it wrong.
So let me see here. Yeah. So basically, the idea is that you would have essentially a builder image, a builder Falco libs image, essentially, that would build the libs source code, and essentially in it have basically a library that would have all of the statically or all of the statically built, because I think most of the libraries that are built are .a's, so they're statically built versions. So you'd have that builder image with all of those libs there, and then essentially what you would do is, when you're trying to build something, let's say when you're trying to build the Falco binary, you would link to that. You would link to that image. The Falco would then make and include essentially the libraries that are there, and then you would have a runtime image that you could then copy that Falco binary into that runtime image. So I have something like I say, I can share in the chat. It's just that it's a hack version. I've been talking to Leo about how to clean it up and stuff like that. So there, like I say, it's not definitely not a finished.
Yeah, if you want to share it in the agenda, just marking as a yeah, sure. I can add it here. So it's an example that's great, anyways, so that we can see what we are talking about. We have the code that we were discussing. So I see that basically it's a 2-step process, of course, and essentially what it does, it's that it creates this build, this last build step. And this will actually become the base image for the builder that is going to build Falco. So this is a way of, let's say, of speeding up, at least in my view, it speeds up the compilation of the whole thing, because instead of having to download libs and then compile the libs and then compile Falco and link that all together, you get some kind of precompiled or object files for the libs already in your builder image before you actually go out and build Falco.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, and it also the nice thing too is it makes it easier for other applications to start using those libraries, because I think we can make some really nice tutorials. If we add in one of the other things that are sort of in the GitHub link that I shared is this idea of also taking the Falco driver loader and putting that in with the libs, because that's designed to load the libs and the Docker entry point. So that gives you a really self-contained sort of libs image that and we can create some nice tutorials around it so that people can start building applications on top of the libs, and do that in a really simple way. So it might increase the adoption of those libs in other things other than Falco, which I think might be a good result. In being able to do that. So yeah.
I really like this idea, actually. I really like the idea of being able to use the power of the libs in whatever software you might want. And this could be a good step towards that. I am not completely sure about the implementation, because I think it's currently that's the most you can do. So I think that with what we have today, that's really the greatest effort that you can do, and say, hey, I really want to make it easy for the community to use all this goodness, which is absolutely fantastic. Although I can see a bunch of, unfortunately, there's always a bunch of issues and problems that happen when you start using that, because I also did a bunch of things from scratch for Sysdig, and this is a lot of and of course not these examples fault and not these ideas fault. It's just the way it currently is. One might have a lot of issues that only appear when you start trying to do something. So I think the idea is great. We might need to think about how to actually execute it so that it's the easiest for the community to use the library, and we'll probably discuss it further. But I would suggest, although I am not a Falco maintainer, so I really don't know what maintainers think about this, but I could suggest maybe to start in terms of, let's say, prioritizing and contributing this from the part that actually builds the UBI final image. So I don't know if the UBI image that you are proposing is actually based on this. So this is a prerequisite in order to use the UBI image, or if they are two different and a bit separate things.
So I think that they would be two different things. This in general, what I talk about, sort of with just having the libs, would be something that you could use just with the Debian images. It would give like I say, it would, I think, promote reuse of the libraries, and it doesn't have to go down that UBI route. The UBI I think could be a separate thing where where we can look at if there's value, in sort of being able to, certify these things and things like that. That would give you your sort of, advantages around that, and some of the advantages around security. Because I think it was you that had mentioned before that there are some certain, security vulnerabilities that have had concerns with Falco. Now, the one, UBI is kind of an interesting thing in that they constantly update the UBI to fix vulnerabilities every couple of weeks, which is good because they fix them very rapidly, which is also, you know, in some ways bad because you have to keep looking for that new image and sort of, you know, rebuilding you know, your thing to maintain and make sure that you're always ahead of the vulnerabilities that are going to come out. So, but yeah, I would see them as sort of two different ventures that you know, that certainly may converge at some point, but I wouldn't start out that way. I would say that the UBI version would especially like be very, you know, sort of experimental, and we could see, you know, sort of how many people would be interested in that in terms of you know, downloads and things like that. And then, you know, on that front. So
yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with everything you just said, and I believe it would be we can actually start if you want, and of course you can you can also chat with us in the channel or with me and with Leonardo as well, who was involved a bit in this discussion, or actually has a bit more historical memory about what people were asking about vulnerabilities. I fully agree. Now, I have a particular opinion about scanners and about the fact that a lot of times the vulnerabilities that they show don't really reflect the fact that the software itself that you're running is vulnerable or not. However, I can completely agree that having an image that doesn't show up vulnerabilities in scanners and only has the latest versions of the packages is a good thing. I mean, it's undeniably a good thing, and especially since Red Hat does such an important work making sure that all the versions are good. So I think we could really start from that. In my experience, it's easier. Like thinking about the two parts, one that has the libs, because the part that has the libs has a lot of hidden or you see problems to solve. Even from the file that you've shared, you can see that there is a lot of work into copying the right things into the right places and the .a's, and if the build process changes, then this image can break. While the UBI, in my opinion, is much simpler to work on, because it's just a matter essentially of taking the output that has been built from the current builder image, which is CentOS based, and putting this into a UBI image with the necessary software installed, which is not a lot. I've done something similar. So if you'd like, Terrell, if you'd like to talk, or if you already have an idea and you want to propose some even a new image to add to the list of images. As you know, Falco has a Docker directory that contains images, and we can add whatever we like to that and propose it. I think it would be really a great thing. I say this as really not a maintainer, so that's my personal opinion, of course, but I totally agree with that. And then we can also figure out how to make using libs easier for everyone, which is another massive pain point, and I fully agree on that.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Sounds great. Yeah, I'll keep the conversation going, and
thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'll take a look at the builder, that builder image a little bit deeper, and see if we can mock up something very lightweight with the UBI image, and see what and go down that front. So cool. Sounds great.
Thanks a lot, really. And Thomas, did you want to say something? I think I saw you. No, I saw it wrong. Okay. And also, there is another item in the agenda that I think I missed, or that because I knew about this. And there is a cool pull request to add support to the execcv at system call. And there's no name here who is,
yeah,
but I'm pretty sure who the author of this PR is.
Yeah, if you want, I can write that in the ACMD file. But I want just to say 2 words about this. I have implemented this new syscall together with the clone tree syscall. And at the moment, I'm working on the open by Endolet syscall in order to terminate the issue that Leonardo Di Donato had opened. I can send you the link maybe to this issue here in the chat. And we have almost, we should have almost completed all the tasks. So I will open this new pull request about the open by Endolet in the next days. And that's it. Let me know what when you have time, what do you think about these new subparts? And that's it.
Absolutely. Missing support for system calls is something that's been plaguing Falco. Well, I mean, sometimes system calls get added to the system, so we just need to to implement the correct support. There's been quite some good work around this lately. So thanks a lot, Andrea, and
thank you.
We'll see what we can do here. If can, okay. I said your name. And thanks. So I would like to ask if there's anyone else that has some ideas or wants to say something or has some items to add. So is yours.
You know if we will have a community call next week or not?
Sorry, that's what we'll have if there's going to be a community call or
next week. Do you know if it will happen or not next week?
I think it will.
Okay.
I personally, I don't think I will be there because it's going to be vacation around here, and I'll probably be outside, so not in front of my computers. You know, it's a good time to unplug sometimes. But I believe, yeah, there is going to be one.
I will have one news, maybe 2 good news next week. Hope so. We'll see. You will see.
Then I will have to connect anyways. Even
sure.
if I'm outside, I will connect from my phone and I will listen to Thomas.
You will know for sure. I think even before somebody else. I think we can discuss about that right after. If you want.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone. So if there's nothing else of interest today, I'd like to thank you all for joining the call, and have a good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. See you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
you soon. Bye bye.